Don't touch me. I'm not one of your broken puppets. My voice cracked through the static, echoing off the twisted metal and bone that littered the wasteland. The words hung in the air, trembling with a fear I refused to acknowledge. I pressed a trembling hand to the side of my head, feeling the grit and blood caked beneath my fingernails. The Pararade headset buzzed, feeding me a chorus of phantom whispers names, accusations, pleas for mercy. I staggered forward, boots crunching through a carpet of shattered glass and scorched earth, the remains of juggernauts jutting from the ground like the ribs of some long-dead beast. No man's land. The phrase had always sounded like a warning, but now it felt like a curse. Under a sky the color of a festering bruise, the world was a graveyard bleak, endless, and silent, except for the distant, metallic shriek of a Legion drone. The wind carried the stench of ozone and rot, swirling dust and ash into my eyes. I blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. I'd come here alone, against orders, drawn by a signal that should have been impossible. The outpost at Sector 86 had been annihilated months ago, its coordinates wiped from every map. But the distress call pulsed in the static, a desperate heartbeat I couldn't ignore. Each step deeper into the wasteland was a betrayal of my orders, of my own safety, of the fragile hope I'd tried to protect. But I had to know. I had to see. A memory flickered. Shin's voice, cold and distant. You can't save the dead, Lena. But what if I could? What if I had to try? The outpost rose from the mire like a tumor, its walls pitted and streaked with rust. The gate hung open, twisted on its hinges. I slipped inside, the Pararade's static growing louder, more insistent. The world narrowed to the crunch of my boots, the rasp of my breath, the pulse of dread in my throat. The corridors were choked with debris-shattered monitors, blood-stained uniforms, the blackened husks of Legion drones. The lights flickered, casting everything in sickly yellow and bruised purple. I passed a mirror, cracked and smeared with something dark. My reflection was a stranger, pale, hollow-eyed, hair matted with sweat and dust. I looked like a ghost already. A door at the end of the hall stood ajar, light seeping through the gap. I pushed it open, heart hammering. The room beyond was a laboratory, but nothing like the ones I'd known. Tables were lined with bodies, some whole, some torn apart, all unmistakably 86. Their skin was gray, stretched tight over bone, their eyes glassy and unseeing. Wires snaked from their skulls, burrowing into the walls, pulsing with a sickly blue light. A figure stood at the far end, hunched over a workbench. He turned as I entered, and I saw the ruin of his face. Half burned, the skin puckered and shiny, one eye milky white, the other sharp and fever bright. He smiled, lips splitting to reveal teeth too white, too perfect. Major Lena, he crooned, his voice syrupy and cold. Welcome, I've been waiting. Dr. Lev Rostov. The name was a curse among the 86A scientist who'd vanished when the Legion first breached the walls. Rumors said he'd died, or worse. But here he was, alive and monstrous. What have you done? My voice was barely a whisper. He gestured to the bodies, pride gleaming in his ruined face. Evolution, Lena. The Republic wanted weapons. The Legion wanted slaves. I want something more. A new humanity free of weakness, free of fear. He stepped closer, his gait uneven. I saw now that his left arm was a patchwork of flesh and metal, the fingers ending in surgical blades. He reached out, and I recoiled. Don't touch me! He laughed, a sound like broken glass. You're afraid? Good. Fear is the crucible of progress. The air shifted, thickening. I tasted something sweet, chemical, on my tongue. The lights pulsed, and the Pararade screamed in my ear. Suddenly, the room was full of voices. Shin, Theo, Anju, Raidenal, crying out, all accusing. You left us, Lena. You watched us die. No, I gasped, clutching my head. I tried to save you. The world twisted. The bodies on the tables sat up, eyes rolling in their sockets. Wires writhed like snakes, burrowing deeper, pulling flesh taut until it split. Blood oozed, thick and black, pooling on the floor. Rostov moved among them, stroking their hair, whispering to them. They remember you, Lena. They remember everything. One of the cyborgs lurched toward me, its face a ruin of scars and stitches. It reached out, nails scraping my cheek. Why didn't you save us? I screamed, tearing away, stumbling through the room. Every surface was slick with blood, every shadow alive with movement. The para-raid pulsed, feeding me memories that weren't mine: pain, fear, the moment of death. I ran, but the outpost was a maze, every corridor leading back to the lab. The walls pulsed, breathing, slick with condensation and something thicker. My hands shook, my vision blurred. You can't escape, Rostov's voice echoed. You're part of this now. I found a door, slammed it shut behind me. The room was small, lined with cages. Inside, more bodies, some twitching, some still. One was a girl, no older than 12, her hair matted with blood, her eyes wide and empty. She stared at me, lips moving soundlessly. I dropped to my knees, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. A hand touched my shoulder, cold, metallic. I spun, knife flashing, slicing through flesh and wire. Blood sprayed, hot and sticky, splattering my face. The cyborg collapsed, twitching, its mouth working silently. I staggered to my feet, adrenaline burning through the fog. I had to end this. I had to stop Rostov. The main lab was a vision of hell. Rostov stood in the center, arms outstretched, surrounded by his creations. They moved like puppets, jerky and unnatural, wires trailing from their skulls. The air was thick with the hallucinogenic gas, every breath a struggle. He smiled, beckoning me forward. You want to save them? Save yourself first. I lunged, knife flashing. He caught my wrist, squeezing until the bones ground together. I screamed, driving my knee into his gut. He staggered but didn't let go. You're weak, Lena. Too weak to change anything. I twisted, slamming the knife into his side. Blood welled, dark and viscous. He laughed, spitting blood. Pain is progress. The cyborgs closed in, hands clawing, nails raking my skin. I fought, slashing, stabbing, every motion desperate. Blood sprayed hot and metallic, coating my hands, my face. One cyborg grabbed my hair, yanking me back. I drove the knife into its eye, feeling the pop, the gush of fluid. Rostov watched, eyes shining. Beautiful. You're becoming. I broke free, stumbling toward the reactor room. The walls pulsed, alive with wires and blood. The para-raid screamed, voices overlapping, drowning me. Lena, help us. Save us. Kill us. I reached the reactor, hands shaking. The control panel was a mess of wires and switches. I ripped them free, alarms blaring. Rostov appeared in the doorway, limping, blood streaming down his side. He smiled, teeth red. You can't stop evolution. I hit the final switch. The reactor hummed, heat building. The walls shook, dust raining down. And then I saw it. Rostov's masterpiece. A figure stepped from the shadows, faceless, silver-haired, its spine fused with legion spider legs. It moved with inhuman grace, head cocked in imitation of curiosity. It spoke, and my blood froze. My father's voice, twisted and cold. Lena, why do you fight? Why do you cling to weakness? I backed away, heart pounding. The clone advanced, spider legs clicking on the floor. It reached out, fingers brushing my cheek. You're just like me, it whispered. Broken, alone. I screamed, driving the knife into its chest. It didn't bleed. It laughed, the sound hollow. The reactor roared, heat searing my skin. I turned, running, the clone's laughter echoing behind me. The world exploded in light and sound. I was thrown, tumbling through smoke and fire. The ground rushed up to meet me, hard and cold. When I woke, the sky was burning. The outpost was gone, reduced to rubble and ash. I crawled to my feet, every muscle screaming. My hair was streaked white, my skin blistered. I stumbled to a pool of water, staring at my reflection. My eyes were hollow, my smile twisted. Behind me in the water's surface, the clone's face flickered, empty, mocking. I pressed a hand to the glass, whispering, "I'm not one of your broken puppets." But the reflection only smiled, hollow and cold. The wasteland stretched before me, endless and empty. The voices were gone, but their echoes lingered, accusing, pleading, unforgiving. I walked on, alone, haunted by the ghosts of the fallen and the shadow of what I'd become.